I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings in the movies, and I'm not proud of my address.
We're not just building muscle, we're building men. In the quiet hours, in the unfiltered moments, in the conversations that happen before the world wakes up. This is the Gloom, where brotherhood forms in the dark so we can lead in the light, where vulnerability is strength and leadership is handed from man to man, one story at a time. Our mission is to empower, exhort, and inspire men to achieve their best selves through stories of reinvigorated male community leadership. We bring you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha PACs, ordinary men doing extraordinary things in fitness, fellowship, faith, and leadership, because we believe that every man has a story, and reinvigoration starts when that story is shared. This is the Glue in the Gloom. Shout out to our sponsors, Exclusively Eye Care, Major Team Mortgage, Liberty Core Real Estate, Avior Wealth Management, and Omaha Laser Dentistry. We appreciate their support. Are you or someone you know in the market to buy a new home? Well, if so, check out Major Team Mortgage. They specialize in home purchase and refinance home loans. Their mission is to purposely empower people to experience their good life through building wealth with real estate. You know, showing up in the gloom is no different than showing up for a conversation around your future of building wealth with real estate. Join the action economy and get in the game with Sasquatch. Text or call John at 402-212-0149 to schedule a time today. Individual NMLS number 1393750. Company NMLS number 2478164. Equal housing lender. Now let's get back to the gloom.
And we're back. Excited to get this guy's story out there. We were just talking before, and he's one of the only one I can think of that has actually been site Q of two different sites at the same time. So I've got my man ICB on with me today, and he is was formerly the site Q, or was able to launch Boxcar, but also a site Q at Oscar Mike. So really excited to get your story, and have just enjoyed getting to connect with you over the years. Would love if you would just kind of take us back, like what was that beginning of your journey, like the EH story, and sort of how we landed on your nickname.
Sure. So I was invited out by Farva. I've known him for probably 20 years through work. We both worked midnights together for the police department. We always worked different parts of the city, but I would see him at jail all the time. And he had known that years before I was trying to get better, and I was trying to run and bike, and I kind of fallen off that wagon for a little bit. And he had found F3 like a week or two before, and I know he researches everything. He's so diligent and OCD about everything.
Yeah.
And so when he told me about it, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll come. No big deal. It's like I didn't even have to think about it, because I knew if he thought it was a good thing and he's inviting me out, this is going to be a good thing, and it's something I should do. So that first time I came out was on a Tuesday at Sanitarium, and I didn't know what to expect, so I showed up. Typical. I had my car keys in one hand, a water bottle in the other, and kind of like, hey, where are we going? What are we going to do? Where should I put this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up down on the football field, but it was a rough morning, because I hadn't been doing anything for quite a while.
Yeah. What do you remember? Who was leading that morning? Or
It was Sweet Roll, and
okay.
I didn't know it at the time, but like a year later, I found out it was actually his VQ.
Oh wow, nice.
So it was a pretty good sized group there.
Yeah,
for it.
That's awesome. What just initial impressions? What did you think? Was it challenging, or was it exactly what you needed, or what was that first impression like?
It was both. It was definitely challenging physically, and I knew it was something I needed. And but yeah, it was so, I didn't know what to expect. And I remember coming back. It was either the next day or like the following week, and we were out at Danger Zone. It was right after that site had pretty much just launched,
Mm.
and Knobs ended up being next to me, and I just like huffing and puffing, and I ended up asking him, "Does this ever get easier?" And he just kind of chuckled, and he said, "Yeah, just stick with it. You'll get there."
Yeah. Has it gotten any easier or no?
It it has, but it's still challenging. I think
Yeah.
there's always ways, modify as necessary. You can pretty much make anything as easy or tough as you like.
Right. Well, I love it, and I would be curious how. So you get through this first workout, you get in the circle, and then how'd they land on the name?
So Barbara was the only person I actually knew, and I am kind of pretty quiet, reserved. Usually they ask you what you do for a living, and there's so much. Obviously, there's a lot of people that like the police, but there's a fair share that don't. So if I don't know my crowd, I usually don't, spout that out too frequently.
Yeah.
So I didn't say anything about the police department, but somebody ended up asking me if I had tattoos, and I have a shamrock tattoo on my calf, and then
Mm.
I have an Irish claddagh around my thigh. And so, I mentioned that, and then somebody threw out the Irish car bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also too, I have Irish twins. So I have my
Okay.
two kids that are 11 months apart, almost to the day. So I think I don't even know who threw it out, but that's what stuck.
Nice. Are you Irish? Is there some family ancestry there?
Yes, my mom's side is Irish, so it would be my great grandparents were from Ireland. I never knew them, but they were from Ireland.
Nice. That's cool. So kind of a fitting name, right? What did you think initially? Were you like, oh man, that's terrible, or were you like,
Ah,
yeah, it's not too bad?
no, I liked it. I thought, yeah, that's not too bad. And Farva, the first time somebody, said the Irish car bomb, he said ICB right away. So that kind of just
Yeah.
stuck. So it just
Yeah.
kind of all fell in together one spot.
Yeah. What do you find yourself saying in Namaramas? Do you say the full thing, or do you abbreviate, or a mix of both?
I usually say the full thing.
Yeah. 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 It's an interesting, because ICB could sound like ICP, and then there's all these other, it could get really messy really quick, right?
It could.
I love it. So how did like from a first step perspective, how did that connect with some of the previous stuff you'd been doing for the police department and all of that?
Well, I had been kind of right, unfortunately, before I got divorced, I had started doing a lot of running, and I was trying to run like 2, 3, 4 days a week, and I was
Mm,
biking quite a bit. And the seeing those guys show up at sanitarium, and they're doing those pre-runs, and I was like, oh my god, these guys are crazy. How There's no way I can do that. I would go down on the track before and try to do a couple laps and just be huffing and puffing. And so I knew I
mhm.
really needed to start trying to push myself and improve that.
What do you feel like you were? So I guess take me back a little bit, right? You obviously had to do some stuff to get into the police force and pass different uh, fitness
I did.
tests, right? What was fitness like growing up? Like, was that
So
always kind of something part of your life?
um it was always a roller coaster, kind of on again, off again. Like when I was little, I remember trying soccer and not really caring for it. And then for a little bit, I did some taekwondo, and then I ended up kind of falling into doing some baseball. So
Mm-hmm.
I did. I mean, I was still pretty young, probably like that 10 to 13 age group. doing like little league baseball, and we had I grew up kind of by Creighton Prep, and so we had the Hillside Little League baseball diamonds that were just to the west of where I lived.
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
so we were always up there. I have a middle brother, and he's really good at baseball. I myself was not so good, but we were always, playing catch in the front yard in the summer. We'd go up and hit the ball. We'd go up and we had tennis courts by our house. Sometimes we would play tennis. And then I wasn't good enough, or I didn't feel like I was good enough, so I didn't really do much in high school. But I did do track my freshman year, and then sophomore year did a little bit of track and tennis again. And then just because of life and having starting to have bills and drive, I had to get a job to help pay
Mm-hmm.
car insurance and help have a car. So I didn't do sports because I started working. So I've been working since I was 15.
Oh wow.
And as far as physical stuff for like the police department, once you do the written test and you pass the single initial fitness test, there's not really any push to improve yourself. And so it
Mm-hmm.
just kind of it falls the responsibility on you. And so, like I said, it was kind of a roller coaster. Like I'd have some good times where I would be doing stuff. I'd try to hit the gym or run or swim, and then you get in that rut and you just wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And at the time when Farva kind of brought F3 to me, I was in that rut where I hadn't been doing anything for probably 3 or 4 years,
Hmm.
and I really needed that push. So it was a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I would be curious too, because I guess maybe just like as a young boy, you kind of think of like, oh, I want to be a, police officer because that's kind of the tough superhero kind of role, right? But for you, what was it that led you down that path, career wise?
It's kind of just a weird fluke, actually, because
Hmm.
when I first started college, I my goal, I really like science, so I thought, oh, I want to be a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to UNO, and I had a anatomy and a physiology class, and for the life of me, I just bombed it.
Mm.
Like doing this classes, and every little nook and cranny has a name, and just all that memorization. I figured out it wasn't for me. And I had ended up with a buddy doing a criminal justice class, and it just kind of led from there. I did a couple CJ classes. I was like, oh, I really like this. This is interesting. And then pretty much my junior year of college, one of our instructors said, hey, Omaha Police Department is trying to hire somebody for a grant position.
Mm.
They're looking for college students. And so I ended up applying, and ended up being a grant position working with the gang unit.
Mm.
And
Cool.
the sergeant that was in charge was super laid back, super cool. He'd actually let me come out sometimes when they do early morning warrants. And so I was like, this is awesome. I love this. This is so much fun. So
Mhm.
that's kind of I just finished up my college career and ended up graduating with a degree in criminal justice,
Nice.
which led me to applying with the police department once that grant position was up. So
What
I
I would
actually
be
got
curious when you say you went out and were doing some of that stuff, it was really cool. What do you think you liked about that, or what did you find? Sort of made you say like, yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like an adrenaline junkie, but that
But kind of.
adrenaline, but kind of, I guess, yeah, in a just weird way. Just like busting in somebody's door to go in someone's house and look for either a person or the drugs or whatever else you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, right? There's so many different paths that we could each go on, and I think like you said, right, you're like down a certain path, and then something didn't go right, and then there's a different path, which I always think is really cool to kind of hear how people navigate those different things. But I would be curious if you talk me through where you're at today. Like when you think about that first F fitness journey, like where you at, where you headed, and how has maybe F3 been a part of that?
I think it definitely has helped. Like that, I just remember one of the after I'd been doing F3, it was probably about a year. We my partner and I got into a foot chase, and I was like, here I am. I don't remember, 47, 48 years old, and chasing down like a 20-year-old kid, and I was like, ah, man, And I remember posting in the WhatsApp, you know, thanks F3 for all those runs.
Yeah. Did
I'm
you
not the
catch him? I'm
fastest.
assuming you caught
Yes.
him, right?
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm not the fastest, but and I got a little stamina, so now I can hang with him, and we ended up catching this guy,
Nice.
and that story in itself was funny because we had a call. It was like a naked guy licking a window down downtown, and we got there, and he ended up having a blanket or towel wrapped around himself, and it was a hot summer day. I go to grab him, my hand slips off his wrist because he's so sweaty, and he just throws the towel off, and he's buck naked and just takes off running. We chased him like 3 or 4 blocks. My partner, he had his wallet in his pocket, and I just remember I hear tink 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 tink, and I look behind me. His wallet had fallen out of his pocket, hit the cement in the middle of the street, and all of his credit cards and ID go
Oh
like sprawled
no.
out in the middle of the street.
Oh
So I'm
man.
like, stop, grab your stuff. And then
Yeah.
I just kept chasing this guy, and then he ended up giving up. So, like I said, we caught
Nice.
him, but some
That is
bad drugs that
awesome.
day.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I can only imagine the number of stories like that you have. I think it's interesting too because as you're thinking about like guys that come into F3, right? I maybe had a few moments in my past, right? Different run-ins with the law and different things that I'm not proud of, but definitely it's cool to know to in this season of life to be able to really know a few guys on the force and just be able to respect and really honor the work that you guys do to protect and serve our community, right? And I think it's funny, like as a kid, when you're causing trouble, you don't really look at it that way, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm sort of like, yeah, uh, we need these guys.
And I do appreciate that. And like I said, without that, that little bit of first F, I probably wouldn't have caught that guy. And the last
Yeah,
other couple foot chases I've had, I've actually hung with these younger guys. So makes me feel pretty good, especially since I hit 50 this year and hit that respect. And so
yeah,
as far as your question about where is it going, I hope to keep pushing forward and keep, posting hopefully 3, 4, 5 days a week and till everything starts giving out. But
yeah. What's that been like as you have sort of, everybody tells me I turned 40 in December, and so everybody says, well, that's when it starts to go downhill. I don't know. I'm choosing to not believe it, but it's closely getting here. But what's that been like for you as you have as you've aged? Have you seen more injuries or more challenges with certain things?
um, not really, not really injuries, just like stiffness. You wake up in the morning, everything's
Yeah.
sore. So it has been tough. There's been mornings where that accountability has really helped,
Hmm.
where I'll have either invited somebody out or got a message like, "Hey, I'm going to be there," and you tell them you're going to be there, so that kind of forces you out of bed.
Hmm.
Where it's I mean, everybody knows it's easy to hit snooze or fart sack and just roll over, and you're like, yeah, it's my bed's so warm today, I'm just going to stay right here.
Right.
So that accountability, you know, has helped quite a bit. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, it's like when it's raining, right? When it's really cold, like
mhm.
those are the mornings where you're like, I don't think I'm gonna go. But if you are planning to meet guys there, right, it really helps keep you on track for sure. Um, talk me through what I guess one of the other questions I had for you at some point, and maybe it was Farva, but I feel like had mentioned like OPD had some different, like if you met certain fitness milestones, you could maybe get a discount on your insurance, or I don't know if there is anything like that. But are you chasing after any of those types of goals, or you're just really trying
Um,
to maintain and be healthy for your kids?
I I have been trying to do those. They do an optional physical fitness test now.
Hmm.
It started probably ooh, 6 years ago, maybe,
Hmm.
and you earn some extra time off,
Oh, cool.
and you can earn. We get a yearly stipend that you're able to spend, and if you do the physical fitness test, even you just show up,
Hmm.
you you can use that stipend money for fitness equipment.
Oh,
So
cool.
if you wanted to buy weights or kettlebells or jump ropes or tennis shoes or whatever you're going to use it for,
Hmm.
but in order to get that approval to get that refunded back onto your check, you have to do the physical fitness test. So it is kind of a higher standard. It's this Cooper test they call it,
Hmm.
and the speeds on the run are super fast. And but yeah, so I've been pushing myself. I've been trying to keep myself to that higher standard so I can do score well on the test. And I mean,
Yeah.
it benefits me health wise, kids because hopefully be around a little longer,
Yeah.
and then gets me an extra couple days off a year. That's basically just free
Heck
time
yeah.
off.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And I think who doesn't like more time off, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
one of the questions I would be curious your perspective, because I do remember Farva kind of talking about the mental health aspect of sort of the work that you do, but then also how F3 has maybe played a role in that. I wonder if you would speak to that from your perspective. Any thoughts there?
Um, I think there definitely is some mental health dynamics that go into being the police because unfortunately if someone's calling 911, they're not having their best day ever.
Right.
It's usually the opposite. It's their worst day ever. And yeah, unfortunately, we do see too much of the gloom and doom of society.
Mm-hmm.
But I think going out in the morning with a group that has such a positive attitude and such a positive focus on giving back to the community and helping the community and basically in a way of kind of what we're doing when you're at work as a police officer. You're giving back and you're trying to help, and it might not be that person's best day, but you're still trying to help them and
Yeah.
be understanding. Um, it does help you stay a little more positive and not be so maybe as cynical
Yeah.
as you would be, and that's kind of a downfall. And that's everybody says doctors, nurses, police or have such a uh, dark sense of humor, and but seeing other guys in the gloom and being able to laugh about stuff definitely is a stress relief for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think too of just like there's been a few times whether it was either you or Jump Street or just getting a prayer request, right, for stuff that you guys have to be involved in, right, and whether it's shootings or threats of that or just always having to be on high alert. I mean, I think it's your mental health, the ability to like process things but then also move on to whatever is coming next. I mean, that takes a lot of grit and resilience, I imagine. I don't know, any tips for guys as you think about kind of that mental health space, anything that you found helpful to kind of process all the blows of kind of daily life in the trenches like that?
I mean, I think definitely having a close friend, not only at work but outside of work, and then
Hmm.
and somebody that you could try to explain it to
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of get that off your chest. Definitely helps. And I know, Jump Street's been involved in a couple officer involved shootings, and then you have Farba that had his.
Mm-hmm.
So, getting those guys together and just having that support.
Yep. Yeah, it's huge, and I think kind of moving into that second effort fellowship piece, right? That's something we have a chance to, get in F3, right? Is support for some of those other things, right? Like, okay, the marriage is struggling, or kids are challenging, or whatever might be going on. It sounds like you knew Farva when you came into the group. Were there other guys that you knew, or how did you go through, like, okay, let me build some deeper relationships? What was that like?
Um, I tried my best to come, 3 or 4 times a week and meet guys that way. And initially, this will be my 4th year, so initially,
Yeah,
there's there's so many more AO sites now than there were, but
yeah,
so you're constantly hitting the same ones, you're hitting the same guys. So I just kind of start, chit chatting with guys that way. That is the one nice thing about the small workout groups. You get that one
mm-hmm.
on one. It's as the site queue, it's like, oh man, you want this big crowd because you want people to come to your site. But
Right,
then you're like, oh man, I didn't even know Joe Blow was here today because I didn't see him. It's pitch black. And
right,
now we're doing Namarama. I'm like, oh, you were here today. I didn't even see you. So it's it's that double-edged sword and that balance, I think.
mm-hmm.
You have that the small groups is definitely the bread and butter
Yeah,
to get
yeah.
those conversations.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, right? Because if you could get fellowship during the workout, right? But if it's a really big group, it becomes more challenging. So you really do, with that smaller group, like during the workout, have more chance to talk and get to know guys. Do you feel like, as you look at cafeteria or Q stores, or even, I would be curious, like other places where you found that ability to connect, anything come up for you there? Like anything that you would say other guys should try
Um,
or leverage as they're building relationships?
yeah, definitely cafeteria. Um, and I think the on-site coffee has really helped with the cafeteria. The because then it's not like, okay, you gotta pack up in your car and you're going somewhere else, and then you're like changing your mind on, oh, I'm just gonna go home or I'm going straight to work. Whereas like, oh, the coffee's here. We already have the table set up and the coffee cups, and
Mm-hmm.
it gives you that extra, even if it's only 5 or 10 minutes, you have that extra time where you can connect with somebody and have that
Yep.
conversation on how's their life going, or the challenges they're going through.
Yeah. Yeah. On-site coffee makes a huge difference. I know. I also try to go, especially now that school's back in session. I got to try to go to some of the earlier sites so that I can get home to help with all the stuff, getting kids out of the house. But what, as you think about, some of the other pieces of fellowship, I would be curious. We think about like Concentrica, right? So your M, your 2.0s, Shield Lock, some of those things. And I would be curious if you feel like there's been F3's had any impact on any of those aspects of life.
I think that I don't know how you'd explain it other than somehow, I always the group in Sarpy always gives me crap because I've so many people. I think I'm up to like 26 or 27.
Oh, wow.
And I think getting some of those guys out has kind of helped with that more of a shield lock.
Mm-hmm.
Like when like for a while there, and I wouldn't say it's fallen apart, but it's not as tight as we were. But with like Parsecs and Amadeus and Bobsled, for a while
Mm-hmm.
there, we were always together doing stuff, and all three of those guys were EHs, and it was all from portions of my life, but different little segments, and now they're kind of intertwined
Yeah.
because it was my girlfriend, her sister was dating bobsled, so
Mm,
they were always at our house. So that's how I got bobsled to come out.
nice.
And then I used to do part-time job at St. Gerald Church during Lent. Well, Parsecs was the night of Columbus, like grand night at St. Gerald at the time.
Oh,
And from
wow.
talking to him, that's how I got him to start coming out.
Nice.
And then from when I was doing the run club from, a few years back is how I met Amadeus. And I just so happened one day I was working a security job for a race, and he was running, and I saw him, and we started talking, and I was like, "Hey, you like to run? There's a group. They're always running. You should come check this out." And I gave him grief for several months, and then he started coming out.
Nice.
And then like Switchfoot was at EH. I've known him since college, and he was like, I met him through a friend of a friend, and we'd always just kind of stayed in contact and close, and
Hmm.
that's how I got him to start coming out. So it was just all these little segments of life, and it's kind of that Omaha's the small big town sort of thing,
Hmm.
where everybody's connected somehow, and all these little connections got all these different guys from different parts of my life out, and some of them have really stepped up and been sight cues and doing some good leads. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I wonder, curious, like at some point, does it just become, you almost sort of get like the number of guys, like the metric or like getting guys out just becomes sort of like, something that you could easily latch onto. I would be curious as you think about that, what makes you so passionate about giving it away? What have you experienced, you feel like in F3 that you're like, okay, I got to get these other guys involved?
I mean, I think it's just been the overall positiveness and
Mm-hmm.
the good that F3 does. It's, you always have the free push because it's free,
Yeah, yeah.
and until you start buying all those winter clothes
or
and
shirts for all the
or
sites, right?
shirts and running
Yeah,
shoes every 6 months.
yeah,
Uh, but just the being open to men, and so those guys that um, just need that little push to, like, want to get out and work out and have some of that bonding time, and that just togetherness that maybe they're not getting.
yeah.
And I think that that the whole sad clown, where you might not realize that necessarily you're the sad clown, but you probably are if you don't realize it. And
Mm-hmm.
and getting people out and just getting those connections going.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think it is interesting, right? Because we all sort of go through this process where kind of realizing, right, how we're behaving as that sad clown, right? I mean, I think it really is, it's a process. And even 6-7 years into it, right, it's sort of like, yeah, there are still moments where I revert back to that because it's either what society says we should do, or or it's comfortable, or whatever it might be, and I think, you had mentioned something earlier, and I would be curious if you're willing to share, but you mentioned that you had gotten divorced, I think, like around the time you were starting F3, or how were those things related at all in timing, or what was that
Um,
correlation there?
I wouldn't say it wasn't related in timing. I think I had been separated and divorced for about a year when
Okay.
Farva. Well, let me think here. Yeah, no, I'd been divorced for probably about 5 years, which is kind of the time I stopped, was in that rut and stopped doing the exercising,
Yep.
and Farva and I for a while worked on the same crew, and it was kind of our connection.
Hmm.
Not only because I knew him from working midnights for so long, but we were working day shift on the same crew, And we had that connection because we both were Pearl Jam fans.
Oh, nice.
And so I had been on a couple Pearl Jam road trips with him, and then it was always like, okay, yeah, I went and did this run today, and this was good for me, and I was doing this bike, and he was always working out. Like, as long as I've known him, he's always worked out,
Mm-hmm.
swimming or lifting weights or running. And so it kind of gave us that added connection.
That's
And
cool.
like I said, I think he knew that I'd kind of stopped doing those things that I did enjoy doing. And he was the push. And like I said, I knew he would have researched it
Mm-hmm.
down to every last little bit. So
Yeah.
if he's telling me this is a good thing, I know it's going to be a good thing, and it's probably something I need. So, and I think that just translates to the same thing. Like, if you know somebody that, hey, this would be good for you, even if you're not in the best shape, like, you're going to come, you're going to modify, you're going to be able to better yourself, hopefully better yourself for your family.
Right.
And at the same time, you're going to make that, hopefully, those additional friends or connections, contacts, where if you are having an issue, you can have that male bonding and have those deeper conversations
Yeah.
rather than just, hey, how's it going today?
Right. Yeah, it's so cool. I love how it gives you a space to grow deeper, right, in those existing relationships. It's you just you start developing even more and more in common, and then you are connecting more regularly, and that's been, I think, really cool to see for a lot of guys. I would be curious. I guess are you talk us through? Are you remarried? And then remind me. I know you said you have 2 kids, or how many kids do you have?
So from my first marriage, I have one daughter. She's
Okay,
25, and so she lives on her own. She has her own life. She's the general manager at a Scooters.
nice.
So unfortunately, it's not one that we go to for cafeteria ever. But
Yeah.
she did work at one where some of the guys would go to sometimes. But she no longer works at that one. She took over as the GM at a different location now.
Okay.
Um, and then so after I get divorced, yeah, I started seeing somebody. Her name's Stephanie, and we've been together since about 2014. So
Okay.
10, 11 years. Uh, and we're not married, but we do have 2 kids together, and
Okay.
they're the Irish twins. So the youngest is Anthony. He just turned 6 about a week ago, and then I have my daughter Paisley, and she's also 6, but she will turn 7 next month.
Okay.
So
Hence
right
the
now they're
Irish twins. Yeah.
yes, yep. So right now they're the same age, but
Yeah.
and they're in 2 different grades. So he's in kindergarten and she's in first grade.
Okay. Have you ever brought either of them out to a 2.0 workout or anything? What do they think of this whole F3 thing?
They've been excited because I've mentioned it before,
Uh-huh.
but unfortunately with my work schedule, the way we work, I only get a weekend off like every 6 weeks. So it's
Oh,
about
wow.
once every other month. And most of the 2.0 workouts have fallen on days that I work, so I haven't
Yeah.
been able to go. We tried to plan one a few weeks ago, but that was that huge storm that rolled through with the 80 and 90-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah.
And so we had to cancel it. And then we haven't worked out a deal yet to reschedule it at the pit yet, but hopefully that's coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember seeing that text come through that was sort of like, man, I don't know, is the storm gonna pass? Is it not? And it was just like, oh, we gotta call it, right? It's not safe
Yeah.
to be out there with our kids at that.
And
Yeah.
I was happy to see that. I think all those Saturday sites ended up posting on Twitter or WhatsApp or
Yeah.
Slack that, hey, for safety, we're calling this. So I didn't
Yeah.
feel as bad then. I thought it ended up being the best decision for safety
Yeah.
for everybody.
Well, and I don't know about you guys, but we got slammed out at my house. We had a bunch of really big branches down, and I got about an 80-foot pine tree that just completely uprooted. I mean,
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
it really came through. But I feel like Sarpy got hit pretty bad too, right? I mean,
I,
it was
I think
really
parts of it.
everywhere. Yeah.
Where we're at in Bellevue, it's a newer neighborhood, so we don't have a whole lot of trees. But
Okay.
yeah, it blew all of our furniture. So luckily,
Yeah.
the the siren went off on the phone and kind of woke
Yeah.
everybody up, and we went outside and grabbed all that furniture, pulled it in. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do really I can appreciate the having the kiddos, and timing is everything. My 10-year-old has been, she's not interested in going back, and then my middle is 3, and so I'm kind of like, yeah, maybe wait a year or two. I think 4 or 5 maybe is about perfect to get them out to one of the 2.0 beat downs. But well, and then I would be curious. So you're not remarried, but you're in it sounds like healthy relationship, right? What has that been like, or has F3 had any impact on that relationship?
um, I not really, other than I get yelled at on why are you getting up so early.
Yeah.
I try to be quiet in the morning when the alarm goes off, or at night when I'm telling her, honey, it's 9 o'clock. I gotta go to bed. I'm getting up at 3:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
and but as in my situation, yeah, I would not say um F3s have been, positive or negative in any way for the relationship. But
Okay.
I would like I said, I would like to get the 2.0s out eventually. Working
Yeah.
on it. Just got
Yeah.
to get that Saturday off that I get something scheduled.
For sure. Well, maybe Farva can help with that now that he's retired, right? I mean,
What, his 10 kids or whatever he has.
yeah, there you go. He could, yeah. Well, no, I think it's cool. I love hearing just how, those relationships have been built. Have you been able to get other guys out from OPD in that list of EHs? Are you getting more
I
guys that you work with?
I have gotten a few out. I don't know if you've met Pork Chop, but he was a coworker and then got promoted, and so he was coming, and then he got bumped from day shift to night shift. So then
uh,
it was hard for him because he doesn't get off work till um, we're finishing up in
mhm.
the morning.
Yeah,
And
that
I
would be
got
tough.
another supervisor out. He came a couple times and then kind of sputtered out. That'd be driving Miss Daisy.
Oh, that's a good name.
And then I'm trying to think. I've been working on my current sergeant. He's a health nut and
Hmm.
into powerlifting. So I've been trying to get him out to mix it up a little bit
Yeah, for
and get
sure.
some of that cardio. But I'm still working on him.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. I think you just never know, right? And it's all about timing, right? You gotta just keep mentioning it, and eventually at some point though, I think at least you'll match the timing with whatever they're going through, and they'll sort of say, okay, fine, yeah, now I'm ready. Which will be fun. But
What's it like to love your dentist? Well, you're about to find out, where healthy smiles go beyond your teeth. No drilling, no needles, and no anxiety. Relax, it's Omaha Laser Dentistry. Welcome to better. At Omaha Laser Dentistry, Dr. Bullenparty uses the Solea laser, a CO2 laser that's used in all of his day-to-day patient care. He provides thorough exams, assessments, and treatments for things like snoring, tethered tissue, and extractions like wisdom teeth, as well as other surgeries. Check him out today at omahalaserdentistry.com. Discounts may be available for F3 Omaha members.
I want to talk through kind of on the third F side, when we think about faith, and you kind of mentioned this earlier, but would love to hear like what's been your experience in that realm, and kind of, I don't know, take us back a ways if you would, and talk us through kind of throughout life. What's that been like
Sure.
for you?
Like grew up. I've talked to a few people. Like we said, those small workout groups where you have the more beneficial conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So I've probably only told a few guys, and it's kind of, I don't know. It's always been kind of a secret, but not really. But um, myself and my middle brother were both adopted,
Oh,
and
okay.
we were both very, very young. Like 2 weeks old,
Mm-hmm.
and they had told my adoptive parents, like, "Hey, you guys aren't going to be able to have kids." And then lo and behold, they got pregnant, and so I have a third brother.
Oh, nice.
So there's three of us. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but so growing up, my parents always told us, like, so I mean, I from as long back as I can remember, I knew we had been adopted, and my parents were pretty, I would say, fairly religious. My mom went to parochial school,
Mm.
so she's a big Catholic Irish family. She's the youngest of eight.
Oh, wow.
So, and her dad had 12 brothers and sisters.
Oh, man.
So it's very, very large family.
Yeah.
Um, and so I grew up, like I said, over by Creighton Prep. I didn't go to prep, but we went to St. Pius, St.
Mm.
Leo.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember doing the Wednesday CCD classes. And uh, so I always grew up Catholic. And then when I was dating my now, unfortunately, ex-wife, she was Lutheran, so we got married at a Lutheran church.
Okay.
And so it's always kind of been a part of my life. I wouldn't say it was the central part, but it's always been a part of it. And the F3 has helped, I would say, because it's not faith based, but it's always that higher power. And
Yeah.
it's not preachy, like you have to believe there's one God and so forth. And that's kind of how I've sold it to people too when I'm trying to them. Like, it's these three F's. That's why it's F3.
Yeah.
But it's not like, we're having a sermon. So
Right.
so you come out, and at the end of every workout we say a little prayer, or it's your chance to ask for a prayer if you need it for yourself or someone else. And so I would say, since I haven't been good at going to church, it is a nice little reminder that it's it's still a part of your life. And
Yeah.
having the prayer at the end of a beat down is a nice way to end things,
Yeah.
especially on that positive note. And then just to be in thoughts of the people that you surround yourself with, because hopefully, I think the way F3 stays strong and you have that shield lock and that armor is by the
Mm-hmm.
people that you are inviting out. You're going to invite the people that you think are going to be those good leaders, or need that little bit of push to make their life a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
think the faith part is part of that.
oh, absolutely. Well, and I would be curious your thoughts on how do you connect the dots between that and just some of the other things that we've talked through, right? As you think about the relationships, the fitness piece, like um, how does all of that connect for you in terms of kind of how they do they build on each other, or they kind of work in concert? How does that sort
I
of work
I
in
think
your life?
I think a little bit of both. I think it builds on each other, but it needs to work in parallel too.
Hmm.
If you don't have uh, your fitness, what do you have? You're just going to be stuck laying in bed. You have that your faith because you're hoping for something better.
Hmm.
You always want the best. Most of us are all parents, so you're always hoping for the best for your kids.
Yeah.
So you got to have that faith for something better and something bigger. And I think you have that fellowship where you have that bond with your fellow man, and it's just kind of all tied together.
Yeah.
It's you need all three to have that strength and that bond and that shield or locking armor
Yeah.
to grow.
Yeah, that's really well said. I do think, to your point right there, it's a little bit of both, and it's probably a little different for each guy. It's interesting just to kind of like think through that, and also to watch it. That's one of the coolest things, we get to kind of see other guys going through this process in a different way that we've kind of gone through a similar process. So I don't know, it's always been fascinating to me, is as you read like Free to Lead, like there's some frameworks that they have in there, but also it kind of manifests or unfolds differently in everybody's life. But what do you think, as you think about, because the third F has like kind of the spiritual component, right? But then also is like the community service, right? A lot of like, okay, how do we serve or give back to the community? What have you had a chance to do any of those, or is that? I would imagine your schedule maybe is a challenge there, but would love to hear like blood drives and all that stuff. Where does that fit for you?
Yeah, the schedule has always been the big issue with that, just
Hmm.
because we have those rotating days, and it seems like everything always falls on one of those days when I'm stuck working.
Yeah.
But like as far as being, the site queue at Boxcar, just those reminders
Hmm.
to remind the guys like, hey, this is why we're doing this. Like we're doing the blood drive because our community needs it,
Hmm.
or we're helping paint someone's house because it's an elderly family and they need it, or you're helping somebody in a low income area because they're down on their luck and they just need that little bit of assistance.
Yeah.
And I think even though maybe you're not necessarily able to go out yourself, just that kind of that push and that reminder to other guys that have maybe more free time, or they have adult kids, they don't have the little kids that they're have every weekend,
Right.
and they're able to give back now to help somebody else that maybe somebody when they were that new family help them.
Hmm.
And I would like to do throw a shout out, especially to Squeaky Clean and Farba, because when I think a lot of guys know, there's obviously a lot of new guys to F3, but when my daughter Paisley had her heart surgery,
Hmm.
um, it was almost 3 years ago now, but she had a heart defect, and um, they told us, hey, we should be able to go in and patch this up, no big deal. Well, then they did all the blood dye tests and whatnot, and they said, well, she's got too many holes in her heart. It's like Swiss cheese. We're gonna have to do open heart surgery. And I mean that really hit. Like I was okay with them, going in through her leg and patching it up. And then when they're like, hey, well, open heart surgery means we're gonna have to stop her heart, put her on bypass. That really hit. And Squeaky Clean really, really stepped up. And I had only been coming to F3 for probably 3 months, if that. And he set up one of those food trains with Farba. And that was by far the absolute best thing that anybody has ever done. And I will never forget that. And like I said, I was so new to F3, and these guys here in Omaha and Bellevue and Papillion did more for me and my family for that than work. So, so I'm kind of
Well,
emotional about that.
no, I mean, that makes perfect sense, and I appreciate you sharing that. I do feel like, there's sort of these moments, right? And the timing of when things happen, right? You join, and then all of a sudden this happens a few months later. Um, how did that, like, because of the timing of that, were you just all in after that? Like after you had support from the guys and realized like, okay, this is more than just fitness. I mean, was that sort of this like solidifying moment for you?
Oh, absolutely. And I remember telling my parents that like half these guys showing up at my house with dinner I don't even know. I maybe met them once,
I definitely don't
and
know their real names.
yeah, yeah, and and then too, it gave me a chance. When Splinter, when his
Yep.
wife went through all her stuff, I think it was their church set up a food train, and you know, it, I was trying to be one of the first people to sign up on that because
Mm,
he was definitely one. I remember his name being on the list, and I was like, I've never even met this guy. I don't even
yeah,
know who he is, and he's showing up at our house with homemade dinner,
yeah,
and yeah, it's just like I said, it's definitely a testament to that third F and Squeaky and Farva and that the group that band together and helped us out, and it definitely won't be forgotten.
yeah. No, I love it. That's a great example of just one of the ways, right? The group supports people. I would be curious too, the other kind of part of this, right, is the invigorating male community leadership. And talk us through that. Like from your perspective, what was it like getting to launch and lead a site? Would love to hear too, like any lessons learned or advice you would have for other guys.
Um, launching the site was stressful because I was worried, the what if no one shows up, and it's a Murph site and you either love them or you hate them,
Right.
and it seems like a lot more people hate them. So I was definitely worried, that I was going to be there alone on some Mondays.
Mm,
But uh, Corver, he helped me out a ton because he was from Bellevue and lived in that part of town previously where
hmm
Boxcar meets, and so he actually helped a ton find the running routes, and we actually ended up doing a couple extra pop-ups because we tried two different spots before we settled on Fairview Elementary,
mm,
and so yeah, definitely a shout out to Corver for all of his help, and then I was so worried about getting people to queue, I just started asking everybody, and I think once we launched, I was booked like 5 or 6 months out. So I was just, I always kind of, I live in Sarpy, I live in Bellevue, and it was the closest site to me. So it was a little bit selfish on my part because I wanted a spot closer to home because
right.
every other spot I went to was 15, 20-minute drive. And this one's like 10 minutes.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah, I get that for sure.
so but I do kind of like to travel too. I mean, I still hit up some Douglas County sites, not the real far west ones, but for a while there, I was hitting Brickyard quite a bit
Yeah.
in Coliseum. I love going to West Side. I went to West Side High School, so I like going over there.
Yeah.
And so um, I did have a larger pool to choose from when I was asking people to queue. Like, hey, I made this 20-minute drive this morning over here. You think maybe you can come queue for me?
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, it was a good thing. And then um, we were trying to get some more guys to ruck, and I was rucking quite a bit, which is when I got asked if I would be interested in doing Oscar Mike. And the big problem with Oscar Mike was it was on Saturdays. And
Yeah.
like I said, I only have a Saturday about every other month. And so we were trying to kind of split it up. And so if it was my Saturday off, I would try to find a Sarpy guy to queue, and we would probably do the Oscar Mike somewhere in Sarpy. And then uh, Wentworth would help cover the Douglas County. We were the kind of the co-queues. And so he ended up taking the brunt of most of it because since I only had, limited time, and it was that every Saturday, and I was like, oh man, sorry, I can only help you out once or twice, like every other month. But it worked out. I think it went pretty smoothly.
Yeah, it's really I remember when that came up and there was sort of a conversation around like, well, wait a minute, why is ICB going to be the site queue at two sites, and then once we learned more about it made sense, right? That there was really this co-queue thing. Mostly we didn't want you to have to take on all that. It can be a lot, but when you think about so you're leading this site, right, and there's all these different things to do, and I think you kind of mentioned earlier, right, as the site queue, you kind of want numbers, right? You want like a lot of guys, but then you also realize over time that it's really the small groups that are so impactful. Any lessons learned or like advice, like what would you say to a guy who's leading a site today? Like anything that you learned along the way?
I mean, I think this F3 Omaha is such a tight knit community that if you asked anybody that, like, hey, I need help to get somebody to queue, or with anything actually, I mean, don't be afraid to reach out, because it's such a helpful group.
Yeah.
And that you know, it you feel like all that responsibility is on you. And I was like, man, how many of these am I gonna have to cover if I can't find somebody to queue, and how many COTs am I gonna have to come up with? And I mean, I never, like I said, I was worried I'd never get groups there, and we were averaging like 7, 8 people, which ends up being almost perfect.
Hmm.
And I mean, even now that Mortar has taken over, it's 8 to 12 people, and I still go there most Mondays. There's only been a handful of Mondays I haven't made it, either out of town or I was queuing somewhere else. But I mean, most Mondays I'm still there, and it's still, like I said, that 8 to 12 guys, which actually ends up being the perfect amount of number
Yeah.
for the pull ups and to stay together. And it's kind of morphed since Mortar was hurt. There'll be the group that goes and runs. There's a group that rucks. And what was nice, especially with Corver living in that area previously, and him knowing that the area so well, we came up with so many routes.
Hmm.
The whole idea behind it was, okay, like I loved doing the Murph and I loved going to Titan Alley, but it was the same route every time.
Right.
And I was like, man, this is fun, but every Monday it kind of gets a little boring.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so my
Mix it
idea
up.
was, yeah, let's mix it up. So whoever's queuing at Boxcar, they pick the route and the order we're doing stuff.
Oh, fun.
So
That's
so
cool.
we've done, I mean, every way imaginable. I remember we did 5 sets one day, the 2 miles in the middle, 5 sets.
Yeah.
There was one time we did 2 miles up front. We've done, like, if you want to call it, the mini Farva Murph, where you
Yeah.
like run a lap around the school and then you do your set, run a lap, and you do your 10 sets. So you still
Yeah.
get your miles and you get all your body weight exercises.
That's cool.
There's a couple big hills you can go do. There's flat area you can go do. And then there's a nice route to ruck. So if you go, Mortar had that meniscus surgery.
Hmm.
So, there's a group that would stay and ruck with him, and it's like 0.65 miles. But by the time you're finishing, the guys that went and ran are coming back. So you time it just right, and you get to do all your body weight exercises together. And so it's kind of, like I said, it's a Murph site, but you never know how you're going to get it. So every
Hmm.
Monday is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that's definitely made it unique. And I hope that Mortar's, I think Mortar has somebody lined up to take over. I hope they keep it the same way, but
Hmm.
we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. That's a good reminder, right? That just each, like stay flexible, like it doesn't have to be, part of what makes it so great, right? Is that it's different every day. I know some guys like the Murph the way it's always been done, but I don't know. It would be interesting. I've tried on my own to do a Murph, some different variations. And first of all, I hate doing it on my own, but also, yeah, it's interesting. I don't know that I can figure out which one is easier or better. I don't know. Do you feel like you landed on like your favorite way to do it, or you just like to change it up?
I like to change it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's way more doable and attainable for guys, especially new guys,
Hmm.
if you break it up.
Yeah.
At least you do your mile and do your 10 sets and your mile, or maybe a half mile, couple sets, half mile, couple sets, half mile.
Yeah.
Get it added up that way. And it's definitely way tougher if you do the way you're supposed to do it, the mile, all 100, 200, 300 in a mile.
Right.
But like I said, it's that whole modify is necessary philosophy, and the free to lead. And
Mm-hmm.
the whole free to lead was, where I had the idea just to let whoever's leading lead it, but make sure we get the MRF. So however you
Yeah,
decide is what we're going to do.
I love it.
So,
It's super cool. Well, and this has been awesome just hearing your story. And I love, sharing that with guys that are listening. Would encourage guys go check out the Boxcar if you're, for some of that. It would be, I'm intrigued now to just like test the MRF, like what's the best way. But I just appreciate your leadership. I think, early on, right, you mentioned, right, like you weren't in the group for very long, but you opened up to the group about your daughter and what she was going through. And I remember that, just lifting her up with prayer and some of the other ways that the group supported you guys. And I think it takes a special man to come forward with that, especially this group that you're kind of just getting to know. So just appreciate who you are as a man, as a leader. And yeah, just great to get to share your story with guys. So appreciate you, man. Let's do a little Namerama to wrap us up
sounds
here.
good.
Brandon Flehardy, 39 The Plague.
The plague. Tony the Sandy, 50. Irish car bomb.
ICB and respect. How's that
Thank
feel?
you, sir. It's weird hearing names.
Yeah, I bet.
It's
I
weird
got
hearing
another
that.
10 years before I'll, hear any. I'll just keep doing the scream, and then I'll have to figure out, do I do the scream and the respect? But appreciate you, brother. Have a good rest of your day.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Scars on our hands, hope in our chest. We're not defined by the weight of the test. Brothers in step, we carry the flame. Different roads, but the heart beats the same. Every man's got a story to tell, from the valley low to the mountaintop yell. Every man's got a story inside, standing strong, we won't hide. Every man, yeah, every man's got a story. We've been broken, we've been bruised, but we rise again and we don't get to choose. Through the fire, through the fight, every man's story burns in the night. Scars on our hands, hope in our chest. We're not defined by the weight of the test. Brothers in step, we carry the flame. Different roads, but the heart beats the same. On a story to tell, from the valley low to the mountaintop yell. Every man's got a story inside. Different roads, but the heart beats the same. Every man's have a story to tell, from the valley low to the mountaintop yell. Every man's got a story inside, standing strong, we won't hide. Every man, yeah, every man's got a story. Every man's got a story. Voices rise like thunder, they roll. Truth in the pain, it's shaking the soul. Chains may rattle, but they break in time. Every man's story is yours and mine. From the struggle to the glory, every man's got a story. In the dark or in the light, we keep marching through the night. Every man's got a story inside. Every man's got a story to tell, from the valley low to the mountaintop hill.